visualizing actually not theoretical objectives or not kind of theories, but rather we will try to make it as practical as possible in the objectives, in the sequences, in what you need to do and how you would like to do it. And of course, from the point of view of, let's put it like your requirements. Because, okay, see, we've been in different kind of situations in the lifetime. Some of you have been perhaps administrators at some point, maybe some of you are still. Some coaching, some scientific support and so on. But we all understand that to deliver a certain degree of excellence, like what you are doing, being coaches, you need to be supported and you need to be supplied with certain minimum requirements, right? That's what we were discussing yesterday or the day before when the minister was visiting. So we eventually got the meeting with the minister, with coaches, and what I was trying to actually make a point that, yeah, thank you very much. We got the complex here in Nadiad, we got the facility here, and we can say, all right, you gave us a hardware, right? So we do have a hardware. Maybe not the best in the world, but we do have kind of reasonable hardware. But we also require software, right? And mind me calling you, and I mean, and all present here, we are kind of operators, right? So we got the hardware, we are operating that hardware, but need the software to make that thing enjoyable and effective. So we need not just a facility, we require also equipment. You particularly, you require many, many other things. Otherwise, your potential, which is definitely there, will also limited. You'll not be able to, you know, to apply it in the best possible manner if you don't have equipment, if you don't have implements, if you don't have other many other things. So you will be limited in your tools. It's like, okay, you have to produce something nice, but you have like tools which are not actually allowing you to assemble it. Something will be missing, or something will be like, you know, not that beautiful, say, as it is. And that will be like typically the lack of a software. So you have to be provided with at least minimum things to effectively do the job. And that is also the part of what I want you to voice out. Because what we are doing here, we are trying to repeatedly, there is one scary scientific word, longitudinally trying to grab from SG from the ministry, list, updated list, equipment, please. So we are now seemingly are on the finally getting that done so that our coaches will be having better software to produce excellence. So whatever you are missing at the places where you are now, please take note of that, try to somehow make it systematic, and then let us know, let me know. Because as I say, we are likely, hopefully, getting involved into policy matters and technical issues and so on and so forth. If so, we will be having at least a channel and a voice to support your requirements in front of the higher authorities, right? So please take that opportunity, voice it out, jot it down, let us know, right? Okay. So, contents. Now, everyone talks of phases. Everyone talks of duration. Very few talk about, okay, what is to be done in each phase and how is it different from the previous one and how is it different from the sequenced one, the next one. That movie thing which people are doing now in Hollywood and most probably in Bollywood. Okay, suddenly you have a movie, okay, like Lord of the Rings, right? I mean, I guess everyone knows that. Then we have a sequel. What is the sequel? It's a kind of next one. Okay, whatever happened. And then another sequel. I think the word is trickle. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then you like, okay. And then suddenly after 2-3 years they have prequel. And you go, okay, what is prequel? This is what actually happened before the actual movie. So, one, sequel, triquel, and then prequel. So, and then suddenly you don't remember what was going on, and then and suddenly they say, okay, prequel is that was another 1,000 years before, and then that people were doing, or not only people, but other creatures were doing something. So, the logic is simple. All those phases of long-term development are sequels. All right? Some are perhaps a prequel. Maybe preschool is a prequel. So, look at it as whatever you have to do in phase 3, all the required basic things are supposed to be done before that. Right? So, it's a sequence of certain longitudinal or long-term development objectives which you cannot skip. You have to actually go through them one by one. The problem is like when to do it, how to do it, with what kind of tools and what kind of kids. Your own kids doesn't count. Or maybe it does. So we have to look at it as a sequence in which we should not miss a thing. Because I can give you a lot of examples, for instance, from elite sport, when India actually perhaps is the richest country in the sub-elite performing athletes. Sub-elite meaning, like you have elite players, and then people used to say, oh, okay, there is no bench, there is no replacement for, back there, Godek. There is no replacement for Petyusha. There is a replacement. There is no replacement for Bahadur Prasad. Yes, there is a replacement. Those are sub-elite athletes who are kind of sitting in the shadow, and they are not in the spotlight of national teams. They may not be even in the spotlight of state teams, but whatever. There are plenty of them. The issue is that not many of them can be uplifted into the elite level to fill the void. Why? The example which, okay, I don't want to name the name because, okay, for whatever reasons. Quite often at national level, you start pushing athletes towards higher performance, improving or increasing their specific fitness or increasing the intensity of the training loads or something, and they immediately almost are started getting injured. A bit here, a bit there, something is not there, and seemingly it's not supposed to happen. You're not just doing something very wrong or something, you're just adding a bit more intensity. I'm not talking volumes, I'm talking you're intensifying the process. Bang, something cracking, something this, something a ligament, something. Why? And then when you start analyzing the situation, talking to the coaches, their basic strength and conditioning issues were not addressed on time. They were not through the systematic strength and conditioning training. They were not in a way protected from getting injuries when the intensity of the workout becomes higher and higher. They start cracking under pressure. And for not cracking under pressure, they were supposed to do basics of strength and conditioning, but not now, years ago. If you decide that, okay, it's not happening, we need to bring them back, it doesn't work. Okay, I'll give you examples from some other areas which you may not be knowing these people or may not be active now. Bahadur Singh, not the Bahadur Singh which used to be the national coach, but another Bahadur Singh who was a shot putter as well back then in 2000s. All right, Anil Kumar, Bahadur Singh. He was performing at say 18 plus meters easily, but the moment you need to reach something 19 plus, then what you need to do? You of course need to give more specific workouts. He gets injured. You give him time to recover. Then someone says, okay, bring him back to the gym. Fine, we bring him back to the gym, but then what happens? His muscular system, his ligaments, they are not that kind of, what I say, flexible anymore. And adaptations are not happening, the ones you may well need to achieve at this age, because they are already kind of at the reasonable age. It should have been done earlier. So that is why, as one of the examples, you need to kind of roll that whole thing. You like it or you don't like it, but some basic principles we have to follow. We cannot skip those, all right? So, now, back to that system or to that model which is proposed, Canadian one, that Canadian Institute of Sports, a very popular place now. ELMS, by the way, is also kind of using that not motor proficiency, how they call it? Okay, that particular term about, it's kind of physical education related in the sense that children are supposed to be kind of movementally educated, all right? There's a literacy, yeah, correct, physical literacy. Physical literacy or motor literacy, it's also kind of originating from there. So, if we look again at this particular model, say, all right, active start, as discussed before. It is actually kind of out of our hands, right? Again, it's a family. It is also a community. But at the same time, try to visualize that, all right, your kids who are coming to you at whatever age, if you are DLSS coaches, then they are coming to you earlier, all right? If you are academy coaches, they are coming to you later or at the later age. So if you are with DLSS, okay, think about it and just try to understand and visualize, all right, what is roughly the percentage of children who you pick to DLSS? How active they are at preschool level? Are those kids which are ending up in your DLSS, are they from kind of active background or they are from the passive background? What is your role? How would you actually proceed with them? Because quite often coaches are also complaining and saying, well, we have to spend a lot of time just teaching those children basic fundamental movements. Now answer yourself a question, is that so, or you being a coaches are still getting those kids who are physically or movementally literate, or you do have to actually teach them everything? Because there is supposed to be a reasonably solid bifurcation between physical education teachers who are supposed to do those basic fundamental movements. It's not your job as coaches, right? They're not supposed to do that. You can do that, but you rather spend time on motor learning and skills acquisition, which are pertaining to your sports and to your actually specialization. So just look at that level. So how this schooling or preschooling even can be contributing to your easy actually acquiring those new talents which you do, again, being at DLSS. Fundamentals, boys 6 to 9, girls 6 to 8. See, again, this model was partially developed based on so-called sensitive periods. You know what sensitive periods are, right? There is another term for it. We'll get to that term kind of later. All right. So, like, sensitive periods are the age or ages in which certain motor qualities or certain properties are developed in the best possible manner, physiologically. The easiest example is, for instance, flexibility. All right. Again, back to our gymnastic coaches or acrobatic coaches. If you don't do basic flexibility like at the age of under 9, it's not that it's completely gone, but the kind of window of opportunity is closing. There's not much of a development of flexibility after that age. You can still go do stretching, you can still do other stuff. It will be more or less actually effective as well, but there will no drastic changes or no serious adaptational changes in ligaments and muscles, which might well be required to achieve some extreme levels of flexibility. So if gone means gone. The time has passed, window is not available anymore. All right. Another term is like peak maximum velocity, or you can say like, what is that? Meaning the development of the various qualities. So another few examples, and there will be always arguments, and already I've been approached by one of the coaches. Okay, strength training. I have no idea why is that so kind of serious a problem, and it keeps being that way. Okay, when do we start resistance training? You can start resistance training anytime. It's not the matter of when you begin, it's matter what you do. Okay, you're not supposed to grab free weights too early. Fine. Even if you grab free weights too early, then it's a matter of a pressure on the spine. Other exercises can be done. There are exercises with own body weight, there are exercises with partners, there are plenty of other exercises which are belonging to resistance training. Just keep reserve for the free weights and for machine, perhaps for later, so that when they reach particular age and then hormonal status is becoming more kind of favorable to get the muscle growth, fine, then unfold your whatever, again, arsenal of means and methods. But again, please remember, dose response. Start with a smaller dose, get it kind of more. Take care about the skills of the movement. Take care about breathing. Take care about spotting. There's no issue. Years ago, there was a position statement issued by both American Council on Exercise and then American College of Sports Medicine. Consider resistance training in early age as prehabilitation, or a type of training which protects young athletes in future from getting injured. That's it, end of story. You don't need to wait, you don't need to do it later, you don't need to say, oh, it's a health, oh, no, it's not healthy. It is healthy at any age. The matter is of picking the right means and the right methods, right repetitions and the right modality. That's it. There's no question of when to begin. As early as you want. Do, but with caution. So, then 6 to 9, learning to train, boys 9 to 12 and girls 8 to 11. That's what I'm saying. That is kind of in a way related to that peak maximum velocity, a theory that something is to be developed and when. However, when we will start discussing it in details, I will show you the, I would say, a bit of a flaw which does exist in that particular model, which, you agree or not, we will see when we reach there. Training to train 12 to 16, 11 to 15. Now, again, I have to repeat that this is a little bit related to kind of biological development, biological age. That's why they kind of split into boys and girls. However, I would still prefer if they split that whole thing sports-wise. Because whatever they say, we still have early sports, early recruitment, medium recruitment, and then late recruitment. And that does not cover each and every one. Training to compete is one of the examples. See again, in younger specialized sports, 16 is the time of national and sometimes international performance. They are already champions in their kind of senior category. All right? So it's not training to compete, it's already competing. And surprisingly, and I will share those slides later, of course, and share that thought with you. Surprisingly, in this particular model, they show that competitions start, well, like at the age of 15, 16 or something. We cannot survive in that model. We cannot afford that. Our athletes only start learning how to compete and so and so. And again, I will show and share some numbers with you, particularly about competition exposure. They'll be closer to the end of the seminar. That number of training days and number of competing days are actually developed asymmetrically. That in case, for instance, we go gradually improving the number of training hours or training days, competing days are more of a sharp kind of line. The further we move into training and closer to the high performance, the number of competitions your athletes need to take part in is increasing drastically. may not necessarily be because of main competitions, because that may be a limited number. And selection competitions also may limited number. But there are other 3 types of competitions, we'll talk later, that you have to increase the numbers. Friendly, warm-up competition, more model competitions, whereby your athletes are getting competition experience and you are getting them prepared for selection competitions and the main competitions. We cannot survive in the paradigm when we only compete once or twice a year. No, it has to be 5 to 10 times more than that. How do we arrange that? That's another question. And that's another point where we are trying to longitudinally, meaning for many years, to make a point that the number of exposures has to be increased, not by 1 or 2 or 5, like many-fold, to make sure that athletes actually compete. And they start competing way younger than here, right? Training to win. Yeah, okay, I mean, most probably they were actually trying to put it as if you are actually always successful and always winning, which is not always that way, honestly speaking, and that we will also discuss later in the course, that you will have to develop, we call it participation strategy. I know some of you might be been listening and smiling and say, tell us about that, we are not even getting main competitions. We have to push it that way. And participation strategy is something which you have to, and we had those discussions many times in SAG before COVID and are getting it again now. You have to have a choice. You pick when you need to compete, how you need to compete, with who you need to compete. Because only in the main competitions you are supposed to deliver medals. Everything else can go anyway. You can win, you can lose. But unfortunately, administrators are not always understanding that and agreeing to that. Particularly if they send you somewhere for exposure. Okay, you had to win there. No, not necessarily. But then again, it's a tricky thing, and we'll discuss it later. You need to pick between stronger opposition, a weaker opposition, right? Chota opponent, mota opponent, right? Guruji? So, you have to actually adjust it. Weaker opposition, stronger opposition, it's a part of training. And you need to lose quite often if you need to win eventually. Right? So, active for life, all ages, right? So it also very much depends, like, okay, the ones who are retiring, the ones who are out of high performance. But again, it is also part of this model, and we keep talking about the same thing. It is good that if you manage to get your top athletes back into the game. So either by inviting them or utilizing their services as coaches or maybe anything else, whatever way, administrators, but it has to be some sort of a, you know, a feedback and back flow. Because honestly speaking, it's a tradition. It's really hard to break it, but we are losing kind of, 80% of them to the job opportunities, and perhaps only about 20 are getting back, either opening their own academies like Dhanraj Pillai, like PT Usha, like other people. Oh, most of them are kind of lost. And it's a good idea actually to get them back, whatever way. And we were even discussing a while ago the situation that how do we, again, invite or involve them as coaches or even as scientists. I know it may be not that simple, but that's perhaps the way we should try thinking about it. Modifications of that same system. In fact, there was a question a while ago. I downloaded this particular picture, of course, from the net. I was trying to track it back. See, the interesting part of it is that it looks like Paralympic sports or something. And I keep getting questions from coaches from Paralympics. Okay, if this is the model for abled bodies, what would be the suggestion for Paralympics? Honestly speaking, I tried a bit, not much though, of digging into it, but I will keep doing it. See, because it may not be a coincidence that out of 6, 1 and another one are from para. And although I tried whatever way I could tracking it back, I tracked it back to the source, I tracked it back to the original reference, but surprisingly it was not from Paralympic site. But possibly it could and should be from there. All right. Now, this one is not the latest. That was 2005. And they were actually kind of presenting it at the beginning, and that started getting recognized in many places. They actually did a great job. I mean, I have to admit that. Nationally, and then they started being known internationally as well. And some associations, actually first national and then international associations, started picking that particular model as their model to follow. But again, that's one of the reasons that also kind of cracks my mind once in a while, and that's one of the reasons I would like also to hear your comments when we go stage by stage and phase by phase. I kind of, not to say disagree with many positions, but practicality-wise, I would say they are rather questionable. And sometimes I'm surprised, okay, associations are taking that, international associations are following, then how they're going to actually pull the trick. All right, so the latest one is this one, 9 phases. I'm also not in favor when people are, you know, kind of stacking phases, more, but let's have a look. So the active start remains as it used to be, the first one. Fundamental training, the second one. Duration-wise, it is also kind of bit, anyway, we'll get back into each phase. Learning to train, same thing. Training to train, all right, same. Now, learning to compete. See, only 5th stage in that model is learning to compete. I'm sure you are competing your kids from much earlier age and from much earlier phase. It may not be a competition as such, but there are always sparrings. In a group, you always have some competing kids, right? And you typically use that competition between those friends, rivals, and so on in your own kind of objectives. And there will be like internal competitions, there will be like some sort of, you know, training competition. So I'm sure you do that, and we will, of course, spend a bit more time on that at the later stage. So learning to compete is a new one. Training to compete is from the previous one. Learning to win, I don't know. I will say the trick is learning to lose. Learning to win sounds like normal development, but in a way, let's say, and we will again, we'll roll each and every stage of this after this slide. So, see, from your point of view as coaches, learning to win is more or less like your job to peak, all right, or to taper. And if you do the job nicely and kind of accurately, then there should not be an issue. But however, learning to win is now here as number 7 stage or phase. Winning for a living. The appearance of this particular stage obviously relates us to professional sports. See, because previously in the old one, obviously it was more of amateur sports, and then perhaps, you know, like school sports or university sports. That winning for a living is obviously earning, right? So it is, of course, getting more and more professional, and India is one of the examples when you have those leagues developed, not to say recently, but in the last decade, right? You've got volleyball league, and you've got kabaddi league, and whatnot, hockey league. Okay, hockey league existed long before, but it becomes commercial. And then obviously it opens actually opportunities for athletes to stay longer in the game and to actually change the situation, and hopefully it will change sooner or later, that they are quitting for education or they're quitting for a job rather than staying. Because getting into the league obviously brings good money, and then winning for a living becomes an alternative career opportunity, isn't it? So, from the point of view of us as like managers, consultants, like trying to get as much use of academies and performance in sort of a professional way, of course, this can be a good development, but then we also need to somehow tap into that, so that whoever you are coaching, whoever you are training or supporting will actually get involved into those leagues and bring that back into the academy. I think we also need to think how to revive that link. Remember that volleyball academy and professional team, how to get them and how to get others and so on and so forth. And I remember, for instance, back then when I worked in SAI and I was stationed at Patela, we were always having complaints from wrestling coaches, all right? All right, good complaints, not bad complaints. See, complaints also could be good, could be bad. The complaint was actually that coaches could not stop national campers from leaving national camp and going elsewhere to participate in commercial tournaments. They have to earn some money, right? And it may not be fair to say, no, you don't go. No, okay, we always try understanding coaches, because say, all right, you are approaching Asian Games or Commonwealth Games, and suddenly you are out of the camp into a commercial tournament to earn some money. So theoretically we agree with that, that should be there. But then practically you know how it happens, and the athletes are arranging a telegram to be delivered to Patela and SNIS campus that, oh, your auntie is so bad you have to visit home because she's about to die or something like that. And then coaches, you know, they stack those telegrams and say, man, how many aunties you've got? Like it's a 10th telegram, your 10th auntie is almost dead, and every time you go somewhere. So they kind of rush away to some commercial competition, like wrestle, play, get some money, come back. Okay, auntie is better now. Okay. So shall we expect the next telegram after a while? Yeah, possibly. So, however, having said that, we also need to address that issue, right? So if that commercial tournament helps that particular talented individual, helps him or her to stick to what they do, then we should somehow arrange that and perhaps even help. But we perhaps should also coaches, most probably they have to do that and show the window of opportunity. Because yes, you need extra competitions, right? But it has to be somehow placed. We will talk about it. I think this is our last tomorrow topic, that how do we plan participation strategy. That's how we plan it. See, if we cannot get what we want from the government, or we cannot get what we want from the state, check every single opportunity. And if there are something, commercial competitions or whatever, fitting in your periodization, let them go. If you cannot arrange it, let them go and then come back. The only thing you have to be worried about that they are not getting injured. All right? There was a case like 10 years ago that Rory McIlroy, that golfing prodigy, he was like about to play in Augusta Nationals Open something. He decided to play football with his buddies. And he got his leg broken. I said, what? Football, played. So, and he was a kind of a winner predicted fella. And if he would win, it will be roughly about $3 million US. Nice football game. 3 million gone. What I'm trying to tell you, that it may be, kind of not fair to advise it this way, but professionally, I would say, yes, do it. If that fits into your model of kind of picking them for SGFI or whatever. Of course, younger kids may not be participating in, of course, those competitions which are kind of commercial, but why not? In the same way, it's very much kind of philosophical how you look at it. and how you utilize things in your own interest. Again, years ago, I remember everyone was complaining, every talent is going to cricket. Every kid is going to cricket, then we are kind of left with sort of, sorry to say, leftovers. So look, whoever is now in cricket, let them play cricket. But they are not all of them are there, some of them are kind of back. So use those who are back. They kind of got a precious experience playing cricket, whatever time they played, a year or 2 or 3. They are well developed, they are agile, they are quick, they do have other developed other things. So use them again back, why not? Why blaming cricket that cricket takes everyone and the best one are left? It's not that simple. So, training to win, winning for a living, and then active for life. So, active for life doesn't bother you much. Of course, it bothers more like myself and Deepak. All right, we are in phase number 9. You are all earlier than that, and your kind of trainees are. Okay, now that I want you to start, okay, this is, I specifically put it that way that it's out of touch, but now start thinking that, okay, you are getting into that sort of continuum where the kids are kind of young, with you, not with you, it's a different story. So the very first phase, known as active start stage and so on, kind of 0 to 6, fine, sounds normal from the birth till perhaps what? First year of schooling, right? So, objectives: to make play and physical activity fun and exciting and an essential component of daily routine throughout life. My concerns with this type of documents starts with whenever I see that last thing, throughout life. You don't know what you will be doing kind of next day or next week. I mean, now you're planning throughout life. I mean, to me it sounds scary, honestly speaking. So, anyway, it's none of our business at the time being. It's more like how we can impress or how we can actually utilize the services of, again, families, and if we have a kind of link to them and we can actually convince them, and making it, realistically speaking, physical activity is a part of life. And then, but again, as I say, we are not much of in command here. Okay, play the game approach, keep the kids busy, approach, any activity will contribute, anything is fine. So, most of them, of course, are non-sport related activities. It's kind of just staying active. Family-based, culture-based, community-based. See, there are communities in the countries which are by default physically active. And again, years ago there was a project in Kerala, a water sports project. Of course, if you have people around somewhere in LP or again like in backwaters, they will be actually boating more time rather than walking. Obviously, because their streets are just canals, and they kind of coming from home to the boat somewhere, out, go somewhere again, boat, and then boat back home. Fine. I'm not saying it's often happening like that, but there are kind of clusters where kids are physically active and more physically active than any others. And that can be one of the actually, kind of sources of more physically active kid who at early age would be definitely more literate and more physically proficient than many others. Preschool activities, nothing much we can do. Practically out of touch for any health or fitness providers, hence can't be much influenced. So that's one of the reasons why we don't do really much here and why we won't actually contribute here much. This one, however, gets into your area of interest, and that is where you perhaps should start actually thinking, and again, like take it as a active part of our discussion, like start visualizing yourself where you would like to have those athletes of yours and to do actually what. Stage 2, like fundamentals. Chronological age, 6 to 9, female 6 to 8. Yes, I have to address that issues of chronological age because it's always an issue in India. Chronological age, biological age, and issues around the biological and chronological age. And then another thing is passport age, all right? So, I don't know. I keep saying that, yes, there are issues of age fraud, particularly at certain level of competitions, but at the same time, I still maintain a simple position. If a kid has a valid, non-forged birth certificate, the issue is closed. The kid is not supposed to be age verified. Forget it. Document, valid document. That's it. I mean, don't blame me. I mean, if I was in India, I would be banned from every competition under 14, under 17. Because at the age of 14, I was exactly of the same height. 20 kilos less weight though. About 25. So, the tall, skinny kid, 13 years of age. Then obviously, and small mush, you know. Then they go, oh, he is older. I'm not. I have a document. That's it. So, but at the same time, of course, if there is a situation that there are cases that, you know, that something is not right or not rightly issued or something, then it's a different story. So, chronological age and biological age are different. And if again you take the winners of the competitions of under 14, sometimes under 17, they will typically be early maturers. Right? They mature faster, they mature earlier, and that is their advantage. I still have some pictures from my school years when my classmates are just reaching hardly to my shoulder. Now, and not now, but like at the age of 20, we were of the same height, like, but back then, everyone is like that height, I'm that height. So, not to use the opportunity, silly. It has to be used, so then don't just take it kind of that directly, use it. So, objectives. To begin teaching agility, balance, coordination, and speed. Now, here comes the very first question, and then to continue to instill the importance of daily play and physical activity. I didn't put those slides here. I'm sure you have seen those many times, that peak development velocity. See, for whatever reason, agility is here, balance is here, coordination, and suddenly speed is there. There is no issue of agility. Yeah, kids are supposed to be agile anyway, right? So they play the games, whatever they do. Balance is part of it. Coordination is more or less the same thing, although if you dig deeper into it, agility and coordination are actually different things. Agility is a basic locomotory, what I shall say, proficiency. Imagine running a shuttle run. So shuttle run is agility. You have to run, slow down, change the position of the body, run back, maybe touch something or so. This is agility, nothing else. So agility is a very basic quality which has to be available with every kid. Coordination, on the other hand, typically is sport specific. So if you have someone who does have a proper agility, then 75% perhaps and above, you can convert that agility into sport-specific coordination. Each one of you representing, not each one of you, but you representing various sports and disciplines, you can like fix it whatever way you want it. But basic idea is that is this somehow. Speed at this age, it's a very questionable statement. Again, try thinking kind of a bit more scientifically. So what is speed? Is it speed of locomotion? What is it exactly? Again, okay, I won't push you into talking much. I will then speak myself. I'll do that later. Remember, speed is typically, or can be actually split into elementary forms of speed and then complex forms of speed. All right? I hope you still remember that from your coaching education. All right, so if you talk elementary forms of speed, that will be what? Reaction time. All right? And again, simple movement reaction time. No complicated reaction time. No reaction of choice, no other. Just simple. All right? Then, speed of a single movement, possibly. All right? However, if you are talking about complex form of speed, that will be a speed of locomotion, running or swimming or something, acceleration, and things which are actually related to combination of speed with other motor qualities. Because the speed of locomotion will not exist without power, and maximum speed of locomotion will not exist without strength. In this age, none of this can be actually achieved. So, for that reason, if you're talking speed, then it perhaps should be related to balance, and in only elementary form, like reaction time, reflexes, all right? And then perhaps single movement, nothing much else, all right? So, continued still an importance of daily play and physical activity. Yeah, fine. However, if you are in sports like, again, gymnastics, acrobatics, diving, you will have to actually do much more rather than this one. Okay, still mostly out of touch. Early influence of school physical education teachers, hopefully who are doing the job. Early specialized sports, right? Like what is mentioned here, starts recruiting at the age of 6, 7. So parents involved a lot, school physical education involved, some sports, as I said, mentioned here. Now, if you ask me, I would rather, instead of speed, I will put here flexibility. And particularly for those sports, okay, I don't know. I keep looking there because in the first half gymnasts were somewhere there. Gymnasts, are you still there or you are elsewhere? Oh, they are left. Gymnastics, okay, still somewhere there, but less hands. Deepak was telling me, they say, we will see how will be the numbers after lunch. You know, in the morning, everyone is here. After lunch, attendance is also important. Okay, but thank you. I see the good crowd, even though some are missing, of course, doing the job, right? They are on the job, doing some job. Okay, so flexibility is something which perhaps at this point is important. The next one. So this is where you come more and more into picture as coaches, okay? So learning to train, fundamentals, I will not be using that much because it's a kind of marketing thing, it works fine, but I mean, if you ask me, I won't remember where is learning to train, when is like learning to whatever. So, 9 to 12 in boys, 8 to 11 in girls. Objectives. Now, please check it out. How realistic these objectives and how applicable those are to what you do. Because I realistically want you to make or to kind of look and make your own long-term athlete development rather than utilizing some other model if it is newest or like from any other guy. It is not always working actually the way we want it. Okay. Objectives. To continue to enhance ABC. To develop overall sports skills. It may be fine when the kid is 12, but it is not applicable to 9, and particularly in those sports when you recruit earlier, right? I know, although I mean, it's my own view, right? Maybe substantiated with something, maybe not. That's okay. I still would say that you pick a gymnast at 7, you pick a swimmer at 9, you pick a boxer at 12, you pick a rower at 14, and so on and so forth. You may disagree with me, fine, I'm okay with that. You'll say, okay, we still kind of start them earlier, fine, that's not a big deal. However, still, overall skills or specific skills. It may not be true to say that to develop overall sports skills, you already run a certain degree of specialty. And at this age, it will be more than 50% anyway of training time, is it? Some of you will do 60, some of you already do 70. I'm not saying now it's a good or bad, it's a different story. But there will be certain kind of percentage of training time which is supposed to be spent in general conditioning, and then specific period of time and percentage of time to be spent in specific conditioning. And specific conditioning is the biggest headache of all which we are facing here, for instance. Again, because of lack of equipment. And because, of course, some, I would say, misconceptions perhaps with coaches. To begin to integrate physical, mental, cognitive, and emotional components within a well-structured program. Too scientific. To develop physical literacy. Now, we can share that slide perhaps with ELMS. 9 to 12, 8 to 11. Physical literacy is almost over. I will bring that slide to you and then I come back. See, fundamental motor skills. What are those? Simple ones: throwing, kicking, running, jumping, catching, striking, hopping and skipping. Definitely, if you go scientifically into your selection or talent identification, you will say, okay, if I am a volleyball coach, for instance, I will look at throwing, I don't care about kicking, I don't care about running, I do care about jumping. So throwing, jumping, hopping maybe. So if the kid is supposed to be kind of selected or at least identified as a potential in kind of movement skills, check this out. These are the months. 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a phase of acquiring a particular skill. So 5 meaning the skill has been formed fully, completely. So, all right, so again, this upper is boys, the lower is girls. See, boys are done with mastering fundamental throwing skill at what? 4 to 5 years of age. This slide suggests that we do physical literacy at 9. It's kind of a bit questionable, don't you think? Then, kicking, 4. So, worst come to worst, see, this is 8, 9, because I was like counting, okay, I understand this is 2, 3, 4, 5, then what is that? Okay. 8, 9 and years, 10 years of age, that would be easier. So, 96 months is equal to 8 years, 108 is 9, and 120 is 10 years of age. Only jumping is still kind of hanging in there, and a little bit of throwing, kicking, all right, what else? Striking. Other than that, most of the fundamental skills are already mastered, right? So what does it say? Ages at which 60% of boys and girls, of course, it's not that everyone has mastered, 60%. So these are actually signifying the age and the phase at which 60% of boys and girls are able to perform at specific developmental levels. All right? Stage 1 indicates an immature level. 4 or 5 indicates the mature level, meaning it's already there. Stages 2 and 3 and sometimes 4 are intermediate levels. Meaning to say that up to the age of 10, almost everything is there. So literacy, if we are talking about, is more or less done. If not done, okay, then we can say fine. We are still caring for the remaining 40%. Maybe they are late maturers, late bloomers, or whatever it is. But for your objectives, definitely you'll be looking for someone who is already actually physically literate. All right? So, the point here is, it's a bit too late to talk about physical literacy, to my understanding. Fundamental motor skills are already mastered. And if those fundamental motor skills like running, skipping, throwing, and so on, are mastered in a wrong way, we all are in trouble. Why? Because the fundamental motor skill has been mastered in a kind of flawed manner, coordination-wise, then it's not to say almost impossible to fix it, but it will take kind of time and effort, and we don't know how long. It is more about multilateral training rather than about physical literacy. So, multilateral training, again, it is something which is requiring skills from various sports. That whether you are a wrestler or you are a taekwondo player or a boxer, you will still need to play basketball once in a while, volleyball once in a while, you need to go swimming once in a while, and so on and so forth. So, for that reason, again, please think of, involving those younger kids into something else but only specific training. So, one of the projects we are trying to push in here, that the current archery area we will be trying to reassign to the football field. Instead, that current archery area we are looking at as obstacle course, or some sort of a facility where every kid can do warm-up or morning session, requiring agility, requiring some skills which are typically undermined or underestimated at the previous age. So, all right, so in here, many sports recruit influence of PE teachers in early specialized sports kids advanced. So, early specialized children are already into specific training very much. Everyone else is still a bit sort of, not to say behind, but in different objectives. So, this slide has been already kind of shared. So, in a way, just bear in mind that motor literacy is sort of the train which has left the station, and you are actually trying to pick someone who is already literate. And this is not in your best interest to start and teach someone the fundamental skills. However, if your expert eye and your inner you says that, yes, I want that particular kid, even if that kid cannot move, I still want that kid to be a part of training. And that we'll be discussing later about talent identification protocols and matrices. For instance, you are in shooting or in archery. You may then just forget about the movement proficiency. You want someone as solid as a rock? As I used to joke sometimes, kind of brain dead, in a good meaning. Not thinking about anything, not breathing, not, like, pow, 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 right? So, then you say, okay, why do I need someone to jump or to gallop or to throw? I mean, like, boom. I don't. So, that's why the funny part of talent identification is that when you don't have, when you have an influx of kids, like in thousands and thousands and thousands, then you only look for someone who fits into your idea of a talented child for your sport. However, in the countries like I'm now stationed in Malaysia, in the smaller countries when the pool of talent is limited, they cannot afford the luxury of, picking. We are like trying to instill different approach there. That, okay, if this is the group of children and everyone assumably has some talent. So we are not picking someone for basketball or for volleyball, but we are assigning an individual kid to a particular sport. So we don't pick a kid for a sport, we pick a sport for a kid. That this particular kid has a talent of doing this, and that. Then this particular kid might be fitting into this, or that sport. The next, some other. The next, some other. The next, into some other. So that is a thing which we use with limited pool of talent to pick from. And it's not necessarily about the country, it's also about sport. There are sports which are having crores of kids willing to join, and there are sports which are actually struggling to get a minimum number of participants to pick from. So that is a different approach. All right. Building the engine, as they call it, the fourth stage. Pay attention again age-wise. And again, just again asking you to try to visualize your own position within that whole thing with your athletes. All right? So, 12 to 16 in males, 11 to 15 in females. To develop endurance, strength, and speed. To develop athletic-specific skills and fitness. Again, I honestly don't know how they were actually picking the motor qualities to be developed at that particular age. That is when suddenly I say like, hey, where is flexibility? It was supposed to be done earlier even, not now. But it hasn't been mentioned. Endurance, strength, and speed. Yeah, okay. 12 to 16, 11 to 15. Then you will have to ask yourself a question. Okay, if we chop endurance out of the list and we think of strength and speed. All right? So, they don't answer that question. You have to answer it for yourself. What do you do first? Do you do strength first or you do speed first? And then, of course, you should ask yourself a question depending on specificity of your sport. Because if you talk to a sprinter will tell you speed goes first. And skill goes first. Strength comes secondary. If you talk to someone else, perhaps a thrower, the thrower say, no, strength goes first, speed goes next. And then wrestling, a different sequence. Swimming, a different sequence. And again, see, strength as well as speed is multifaceted. There are at least a minimum of 5 different aspects of strength, right? There'll be maximum strength, there'll be power, there'll be strength endurance, there'll be reactive strength, and there'll be sustained strength. Kind of, at least that many. And each one with its own specificity. There was certain link to endurance, with certain link to speed, and so on and so forth. So, to develop athletic-specific skills and fitness at the age of 11 and 12, I would still say it's a little bit too late. Although I'm not a proponent of early specialization, I will still say we have to do it earlier. All right? So, flexibility as mentioned already. Endurance and strength may be fine. Speed, quickness seem to be a bit too late. Remember when I was saying that elementary form of speed, like quickness, has to be developed a bit earlier. This is time when the complex forms of speed can be actually in place and could be developed. Athletic-specific skills and fitness is an objective to be repeated every year. See, when we look at the periodization pattern and if we look at the longitudinal thing, we cannot develop athletic-specific skills and fitness right kind of for this particular year. It comes every year. Repeated as a spiral form and spiral shape. It will be developed this year, next 2 years, next year. It's all going on all together kind of longitudinally. Sorry for using that word, I don't like it though, but have to. Okay. This is what I was talking about when mentioning sensitivity periods, or again that maximum speed velocities or developmental velocities. So this is an old-fashioned kind of old school thing from 2005 and before, typically mentioning that joints mobility is best to be dealt with 5 to 8 years of age. All right, quickness or elementary form of speed somewhere 7 to 12, maybe like early bit plus minus. And again, why elementary? Because it's kind of neuromuscular. It's not muscular, all right? It's not strength related. It's not kind of power related. It is more like neural thing, all right? 12 years onwards, endurance, 12 years onwards, strength. Coming back to strength and ask again, kind of addressing the same issue, when it is good to begin, when it is not. Age given here just because of a simple reason that testosterone production comes kind of more intense, so that you can expect actually the growth of muscle mass. However, it does not mean that, again, strength is not equal to muscle mass. Strength can be achieved without hypertrophy, you know it. And that is when and why your speed or resistance training can easily be done before with safe means and methods, and you can even achieve some degree, I'm not saying of muscularity, but muscle definition, because neural component is strong enough, and before hypertrophy sets up, there will always be a neuromuscular improvements, like more motor units shooting, simultaneously contracting, intramuscular coordination, and so on and so forth. So for that reason, those are the sensitive periods given. All right. Stage 5. Learning to compete, or challenge of competition. All right. How long we are already on track? We started at 2:30, right? Okay, 4. Right. Doing okay? Right. Because I mean, we can have. I mean, I'm not. I'm not. See, when I want to say something wrong, they are filming me. I don't. Okay, never mind. I could have offered you to stand up or to do something. I don't like it, actually, if you ask me. When I'm sitting in your place and someone tells me do that, I'm not doing. But you feel free if you want to walk around, do something. I don't mind. Okay, because it feels like you may well be feeling a bit stalled. All right. So our tea break is when? 4:30. Okay. Okay. Another half an hour and then we go into tea break mode. Okay? Fine? Doable? All right. So, stage 5, learning to compete, 16 to 18, 15 to 17. Bringing you back to the point. Your kids are already competing full-fledged. Some competing under 12, some competing under 14. And in their age group, you know, the interesting part is that when you look through various models and through theories, scientists typically treat competition as some sort of disturbance. I don't know if you noticed that or not. There's a disruption of training, competition, and again, my good friend psychologists will say, it's a stressful thing, you know, they're competing. And I remember I was invited, perhaps they regretted inviting me. There was a big congress of psychologists, and they say, okay, can you just act as a speaker? I said, fine. Then I started them questions. I said, look, the moment you are, okay, let's take it as a break. We all know that in recent competitions there were good number of athletes of a really top caliber cracking under pressure, withdrawing, you know, like in the Olympics, suddenly that American gymnast collapsed, not collapsed, but say like withdrew all of a sudden. I know why, I think you also know why. But see, again, these issues, particularly when they could not be explained medically or physiologically, they suddenly started being explained psychologically, which is a not fair substitution. Some cracking under pressure. No, okay, that tennis girl, what's her name? Osaka, right? I don't remember. That is a psychological pressure. However, in gymnastics, diving, and many others, it's actually not. So the issue with psychologists often is that they portray the tournaments as a kind of realistically huge stress. And I asked them a simple question and they couldn't answer that. I said, look, if you dig in the net, and take men's tennis for instance. Do we have tennis coaches here? No. Yeah, okay. Right, good. So then you can confirm or not. If you dig into the past, some sort of 10, 15 years, the guys like Nadal, Federer, Murray, and Djokovic, they were playing each other since the age of about, what, 12? And they were in that pool of kids for years together. So, and many others which we don't know, and maybe those are not that famous as these are. So, when they start competing at this younger age and in that pool, it doesn't make much of, you know, of a stress to them when they actually play again the same pool in the Grand Slam tournament. They, however, crack once in a while, like unfortunately Djokovic cracked in the Olympics, and then again he cracked in that, like, what was that last tournament? But that was in his head, Grand Slam. Okay, one season Grand Slam? No, yeah, like all 4 grand majors. Australian Open he won, Wimbledon, and then next French. So there were only 1 remaining. Yeah, US Open and Olympics. And he was already thinking that he is now becoming a male version of Steffi Graf, who was the only one female in the world who actually won that golden Grand Slam, all 4 titles plus gold medal in the Olympics. And then he started cracking. Yes, that was typically psychological. But again, the thing is that competing is kind of supposed to become a kind of a habit. And of course it may not be always enjoyable, but the point is that even if we look under 14, under 16, 17 or 19, they are kind of within their age, they are actually kind of proficient competitors. They don't do things like coincidentally, they don't win occasionally, they are actually kind of knowing what they're doing, and you as coaches, of course, are training them that way, that they are winning knowingly, not just coincidentally, right? So that is actually one of the points. And at this age, of course, they still improve their performance and they still improve their way of competing, but they are already kind of competitors, matured competitors within their own age. I would put it that way. All right, to develop event-specific area physical preparation. Yogi will disagree with me, I guess, right? Again, you take the age, you take event-specific physical, if that is physical conditioning, yeah, it will be sport-specific, but I don't think it will be event-specific yet. Anyway, introduce event-specific protocols to identify strengths and weaknesses. I don't know how they really do it. It actually supposed to appear much earlier. And even in the academy, we are doing that, I guess, from the age of what? From very beginning. So we do have reducing event-specific protocols to strengthen weaknesses, implement event area specialization. Kind of language a bit weird. Canada. Integrate physical, mental, cognitive, and emotional development. It has been done, and it is going on. It's not that it has to be here only. It is actually happening before, it is happening after. So, in early specialized sports, kids are already reaching international level. In normally specialized, reach nationals. So, that's what I was just trying to share with you at the beginning. They are already competitors. It's not that we are, or you are, actually pushing them to compete. But it's supposed to be at the same time a certain ratio between actually official competitions and unofficial warm-up competitions like exposures and so on and so forth. All right. In realistic setup, at least already actively participating is SGFI and in nationals in various age groups. All right. SGFI, I guess, is what? Still in trouble, or they are back to being recognized? All right, still in trouble. In most sports, training is already highly specialized, and in fact, reach specialized training in full swing. So, this is sort of, in this particular model, one feature is obvious. It kind of slows down, I would say, the natural pace of the development, for instance, as we are facing it. Right, so not only it is sport specific, it also is event specific. All right, what's next? Stage 6, training to compete. One thing which was actually kind of unusual here, optimize event-specific preparation for competition. It becomes event-specific at least 3 to 4 years younger than that. Because when even we are talking under 14, it's already event-specific. We do not have that luxury of having kids performing in 3, 4 running events or in the 2 jumping events or in swimming in this age. Typically the kids will start with 3 styles, right, and then narrowing it down to 2 and finally narrowing it to 1. And then within 1, correct me if I'm wrong, you will be picking the specialization, which event, let's say in freestyle or in whatever. So what else is there? To refine event area specialization, to continue with integration of physical, mental, cognitive and emotional development. It has been done already, as I would even say it has been gone. If you didn't do it earlier, it's a bit late to kind of trying to combine those. To conduct event-specific testing and monitoring. That looks like a laughing stuff, honestly speaking, because again, 18 to 21, we kind of keep doing it from the age of 10 or 12. And those specific testing are done by you guys. And I'm sure at the age of 12, in athletics, you will have your 30 meters run timing, 60-meter runs, broad jumps, like triple jump, quadruple jump, and so on and so forth. And in swimming, you will have all your actually specific tests done and noted and recorded. And in gymnastics and any other sport. So having seen this at the age of 17 to 18 kind of sounds a bit weird. Again, in early specialized sports, kids are already reaching international level and normally specialized already in the nationals, the same thing as in the previous one. Most are already competing from the age of about 12. This is the age of sub-elite level of performance in most sports. Testing and monitoring is sport and event specific since the age of about 14, even earlier than that. By 17 and 18 years of age, athletes in most sports are already in junior national teams. If not, then they are not with us. Because we still have weeding out procedures, and the ones who are not performing at certain age will be actually recommended for without procedures. However, I will share with you some of our kind of developments on weeding out and on talent identification at the end of this session, and then in the next one, obviously too. Next one, learning to win, consistent performance. See, when the topic or the even term consistent performance comes into picture, it obviously means that we are already reaching some sort of a professional level. And again, one point which I keep reiterating, and after the tea break I will show it to you, the whole picture, which like, this is something like, I'm not saying a fiction, not a fiction, a fantasy movie, whereas our movie is like completely different, all right? It differs a lot, and that will be kind of checking, and you will be also, I would request you commenting on those realistic situations. See, 20 to 23 years of age, and again, both, they're the same age in both males and females. Consistent performance. Again, if you look at our ground realities, they're already retiring at this age. And it's not India only, it's internationally, Asia particularly. And it may be true, and honestly speaking, I don't think it is actually even true for Canada. Because Canada, I happen to teach exercise prescription as well. And Canada is also known for health-related fitness models, like physical activities, exercise prescription, physical activities on the move, in school, at home, like this stuff, that stuff. And they are, in a way, also manage somehow to convince the rest of the world that their model of physical activity is really good one. And then, knowing that part, I'm looking again through that time and again through this model of long-term athlete development. It's like you have one shot at somewhere at the age of 25, and the rest of your life you are preparing yourself to that one particular occasion. Yeah, somewhere there. May never happen. And that is again kind of brings me kind of times and again to the thought, like, hey, people, aren't you having age group competitions? Aren't you supposed to perform, at some stages? Because it looks like a grooming of an individual, yes, talented, but then very patient, kind of having nothing else to do, living kind of some weird type of lifestyle to do everything of that sort in that particular age group to then reach prominence in 25, 27. Because see, there is still nothing of top performance. It's consistent performance. Just that's it. And that kind of sometimes surprises me a bit. It is professional level already, set for the top possible performance, but it's only kind of set. So 20 to 23, maximize event-specific preparation for high-performance result. Supposed to be already there. To introduce a normal or formal performance enhancement team. We have performance enhancement team right here, right now. Right, here's our performance enhancement team. Other performance enhancement team. 20 to 23, we start enhancing much earlier, right? In a good way. Permitted. Okay, so continue with integration of physical, mental, cognitive to learn to compete when it counts. In the academy setup, be it Nadiad or any other academy, I'm sure, in Gujarat. To learn to compete when it counts does not exist in a way. Yeah, it counts for main competition of the year. Nationals age group, SGFI. So 2 places to actually perform, right? It counts twice a year. Everyone knows it. There's no league, there is no other stuff. So we are in kind of limited situation. Even if I tell you that, okay, you also have to perform in the selection competitions, then you will have a good laugh and say, what is that selection competitions? We don't need to get selected because we have like 8 weight categories in a particular sport. 6 of these 8 are hours from the academy by default. There is no competition outside. Okay, fine. So it means that you don't even need to compete on the selection competitions. It's not like in the Olympics when you have to qualify to perform in the Olympics. No. So it then only means that we are in this situation actually from, again, even the age category of perhaps below 12. Practically speaking, not many are still with us. I mean to say that many will be lost to the jobs, some to education. In fact, I'm not sure if I was mentioning that before or not. One of the interesting things which surprised me in Malaysia when I joined there was that top athletes will actually, if given an opportunity, job or educational opportunities, they will pick up education. I understand it's a different setup, it's a different culture, different place, different country. In our most of the cases, athletes will pick employment. It's kind of their choice. However, it of course could be easier if they pick education and of course education into coaching, or that is also one of our recent developments in Without. So please also think about that. If there is someone in your athletes who are, for whatever reason, to be weeded out, no performance or something, think about retaining them as either assistant coaches or interns or whatever, so they try to get them back into the job. We have one good case here in Nadiad that an athlete is going through certification in strength and conditioning, which could be utilized, or whatever other way. So we are also trying to actually arrange some sort of a loop that they are not out of the game. They could be either reprofiled or migrated to other sports if there are still kind of reasonable qualities to do so, or can be retained within a sport as assistant coach or whatever way. So some never reach this level. Not many are reaching here, right? So for not being able to achieve the required level of training and competitive loads, many quit because of injuries or improper monitoring system, poor scientific support. Of course, if that is there, as I say, we do try to do our scientific support much earlier than that. 8, basically, almost the last one, winning for a living, performing when it counts, again. So this is still more of a professional athlete, but then again it depends on the system. See, do we have badminton coaches here? All right, hi guys. Malaysia, for instance, and China, right? Li Chongwei in Malaysia, Lin Dan, Chen Long in China. Li Chongwei, world number one, never an Olympic medal. No, okay, silver was there. In China, long bench, Lin Dan, Chen Long, then the other guys, more or less of the same standard. And see, the argument which was never heard, okay, maintaining world number one ranking is important, fine. It gives you a protection in seedings, in this stuff and that stuff. So you know that whatever happens, you will still meet the surviving number 2 in the finals. Before that, you will be actually entertaining the least ranked athletes. I mean, the rule is such that the right of the best player is always protected. So, and of course the commercial part of it. You play all the ranking tournaments, the prize money is good. So world number 1 protection money is number 2. However, you keep being exhausted. You keep being exhausted, a little bit injuries here, a little bit injuries there. Whereas the other guys like Lindan, fine, we can blame China for being non-democratic society or something like that. So they say, okay, your objective is a gold Olympic medal. Yes, sir. Fine. So his ranking is like lower. He may not be enjoying that much of, tournaments, that not much of the prize money or something like that. But then again, eventually, the bigger job or bigger objective is still achieved by them, not by the other fella. Males plus 23, females plus 23, performing objective. Maximize event-specific preparation for results in the Olympics and world level. See, the biggest problem of this particular model is that this is only now when it comes Olympics and world. What have you done before? And before. And before. Like sequel, prequel thing. Were you a junior national, a junior international? Were you sub-junior something, or what was that? You are no one, and now suddenly you are on Olympic level? It doesn't work that way. Particularly these years. Years ago you can say, okay, someone in junior champion never becomes a senior champion. No, it's not that way anymore. Because of sports science, because of longevity in sports, because of medical developments and sports medicine, people are kind of enjoying being junior champions and then senior champions, and they are there for years together. 3 to 6 Olympic Games. 3 is 12 years, 6 is like 24 years at the top of the career. No issue, no age limit, no nothing. So, but then again, is it possible reaching that particular level without being an international level junior? Question. Maximize of training, competition and recovery activities in support to a professional athletic career. This is supposed to be done at the age of 16 to 17 in our setup, if you ask me. Because in our setup, we actually have to achieve that earlier. And I think it's actually better than in this one. To attain a competition repeatability when it counts. We reach that stuff at the age of under 18, 19. To work with a professional support team. We have a support team. Fine. Of course, if you are professional, if you are playing leagues and so, that is easier in a way. More expensive though, of course. To plan for retirement from athletic competition. Okay, this is actually none of our reach, but one way, of course, we can still try offering something to the athletes who are about to retire, about to weed out. That's what, again, ELMS can play a role there, and keeping the athletes who might well be looking at weed out or retirement or something, to keep them in the game and to keep them contributing. And eventually active for life, dealing with adversity, males any age, to make preparations for their integration into society. It's a bit too late to make arrangements, I'm afraid. It has to be done earlier. But the fact again is that whoever is retiring, whoever is getting out of the system, better, of course, for everyone to keep them in the system and to still make use of them professionally and socially as well. Because, of course, we are talking more of professional issues, more of professionalism, but we, of course, have to think more in the holistic manner. And India should be actually leader of the world holistically. and India is. And then we, of course, have to take care about that stuff as well. All right. Thank you. So, now, we are coming, we do have, and thank you for surviving the session.